I know it's, I guess I'm here to give you guys anime library, not excuse me, not anime library, a movie review. A movie basically called The Joker. Basically called The Joker. Basically, I can't remember the name of the actor. I think his name is Phoenix something. Named Jakari Phoenix. I definitely think that's his name. Forgive me if I pronounce it wrong. I do apologize. Basically off that. Now, to be honest with you, I have not seen the Joker 2 movie, but I don't want to get into the territory basically about that because I've heard a lot of people say they were not too very happy with the Joker 2 movie because the Joker 2 movie was just kind of like kind of like a singing, basically kind of like a movie based on the aspect base of that. So I have not really checked it out myself, but I have to really the person to see where basically goes on from here and just want to see the difference basically between the first movie and the second movie and just basically as you see. To be honest with you, I definitely would definitely say when I personally am watching the Joker movie, it's basically kind of like watching excuse me. It's basically I'm kind of like watching a version basically of Batman. Basically how the Batman became Batman and how the Joker became the Joker, and it really basically really tells the really kind of a tell to really basically be tell and just to really just to see into the future the basically how the Joker really actually is. Now I can't remember. I think his name is Arthur. I definitely think that that is definitely his name. Who is basically I'm not really 100% sure if that really was really his name, basically named Arthur, because I definitely do think that Arthur was basically is a guy who has a mental I guess probably you probably said probably a mental illness or probably a mental disability that he has that some things that he couldn't help because it's a laughter that he couldn't help it because it makes it hard for him to basically to quit laughing and basically and stuff like that. And I'm not sure what kind of side effects that really basically can basically that basically could happen because I never heard of the condition basically of that. I think there's probably very rare for some certain people probably do have a laughter syndrome or whatever kind of syndrome or whatever kind of illness that they definitely do have. And sometimes they can't, like I said, for basically for Arthur in this case, that basically tells me that he can't really personally can't help it. That's basically the nature based off himself. So what is this movie basically really all about? As I said before, it's basically about a character basically known as a man who became from Arthur to basically to the Joker, and I will be definitely giving spoilers basically for people to be up ahead to basically watch this movie. If you do not want any spoilers basically in this video, I recommend you please do not watch this video. I recommend watching somebody else's video and not really person definitely you like may not really basically definitely like this. And to be honest with you, I have not read the comic version when it basically comes the DC version, the DC version, or I would say the DC version basically of the universe when it comes around Batman, the Joker and etc., Aquaman, or basically or whoever that basically in the DC universe and stuff like that, and learn the basic of different aspects basically from basic into DC universe when it basically becomes more parallel than difference into the Marvel universe when you have like the Iron Man, the Hulk, Captain America, Wolverine, X Men, Spider Man. You know the gist and stuff like that, and you probably basically would definitely what basically understand between the two differences between both different sides and stuff like that. People do definitely do have their favorites. Like they have a favorite that they like from DC, or basically have a favorite like from Marvel. I think personally, in my opinion, I definitely think that Marvel is kind of like a more friendlier approach for different audience for people definitely like more a family atmosphere for people that really definitely want. But when I look at DC, DC has more of a graphic tone, and in a way that I definitely do feel. That's my opinion. That's what I definitely do think, because I definitely think it has more, not a humor based of an aspect, but more a glorious basically of a dark premises when it basically comes to characters like the Green Lantern or the Joker or basically or Batman based of that. You probably get what based what I get what I'm saying. Now, to be honest with you, I have not even seen Suicide Squad. I think that's what it's called. I'm not forgive me if I really don't know really much about it. I definitely think it's based on the comics and stuff like that. I don't want anybody to give me spoilers about that because I really want to personally I want to watch that basically on my own time. And I also want to basically want to watch the Joker 2 also as well too. And basically get a better understanding why the movie was so disliked than the first basically of that. But as I said first, so what is this movie basically all about? I will say it again. It's all about a guy. His name is Arthur. He's pretty much basically just helping taking care of his mother. His mother is basically kind of like basically she's kind of like kind of excessive or basically in a personal way, and she's basically kind of like a person that she has a reception for Thomas Wayne. If you guys don't know who Thomas Wayne is, Thomas Wayne is basically is Bruce Wayne's father. Bruce Wayne's father. You definitely do get to see Bruce Wayne based in this movie, not as a grown up, but basically as a child. That is something I really want to get into a little later, basically in this video, and basically for people to really basically understand the premises, what the premises between Arthur and basically Bruce Wayne. That is something is very extremely important, and I want to get into that here a little bit later in this video. I don't know how long this video is definitely going to be, but we'll just have to wait and see. We'll just have to wait and see where basis definitely is gonna the basis where this video is definitely gonna go, and see what the kind of analysis that basically I definitely bring. But anyways, as I said for his mother, I will say Arthur's mother is based. Her name is Penny. Her name is Penny. That happens to be Arthur's mother, and Arthur's mother is basically kind of like a woman that she's basically that she kind of like a delinquent, basically kind of a person, or I would say very obsessive person over to Thomas Wayne, because she has become really basically in that mind of the aspect and stuff like that. Arthur really does not like the fact because he doesn't really like Thomas Wayne, because there's morally a very good reason for him to not like Thomas Wayne, because there's more basic into the story. But those are major spoilers. But I definitely question. I'm not really actually 100% sure if the word basically were confirmed to basically be in the comments, or basically or not, or maybe this is just a made up story to really get add on to the fuel of basically who Arthur really actually is, or I will say, AKA as the Joker, basically in a way. But I will definitely will say that I don't want to talk about those territories right just yet, because some people may think that Arthur is related to Thomas Wayne. We don't know that. I don't want to get into that right just yet, but I want to save that just for a little bit later. So, yeah, bear with me. So, anyways, as I said, for he's take care of his mother. His mother has the assassination basically of Thomas Wayne, and she's kind of like basically kind of cuckoo. I basically definitely will say that some people definitely will say that she really actually is, and she couldn't basically let go of the feeling based off Thomas Wayne. She praised him really a lot because praised him really a lot that he's basically going to become the next big guy basically in Gotham City, or I would definitely will say be the next mayor based in Gotham City. Basically, Gotham City. If you guys don't know, Arthur used to work for a company. I think it's called AHA or Haha. either one of those two. I'm not really actually so sure. It's some kind of clown a company that he basically definitely does work for, and he basically is a clown, and basically his job is basically supposed to humor people. That's basically what he does. That's his job. That's what he's supposed to do. Is basically to be out there on the street and basically humor people. But sometimes people really take that really don't take that really basically too lightly, and they kind of really made fun of him because he's dressed as a clown and basically et cetera, et cetera. And then he got ambushed basically about these group of teen. I think they're a group of teenagers. I'm not so sure. And his sign was basically was a story, and then the group of teenagers pretty much kind of really kicked his ass. I definitely would say, basically in a way, and basically that's what they definitely did. And Arthur couldn't basically really defend himself because he really personally that he really couldn't because he basically actually did. And then he finds out where he's basically got in trouble with his job because basically what happened and basically stuff and basically stuff. Now, there's one thing one key points I definitely want to talk about, which basically of the Black Lady. I can't remember her name. She seems like she's the kind of woman. She seems like she's basically the kind of woman. It's basically kind of like, if you know what I mean. And I'm not going to really go into details basically about that or anything like that, because the reason why she did that is basically in a way where she wants to end all the suffering, because I'm assuming because that she doesn't really personally doesn't want to take care of her child, or maybe that she doesn't really understand her child the way that she actually is going, or maybe her child is kind of like mentally ill or something. I don't know. I really don't know, or anything like that. And her child is kind of like a talking parrot that repeats everything, basically what the mother is basically saying. And in a way, I have no idea if the child's mentally ill or not. I don't know. That's something I really don't know about. I have no idea, because it really kind of made me question, like, why is the child is repeating everything what the mother is basically saying, and why she's basically doing it. Or maybe she's just trying to ignore her mother, and maybe the mother just saying, like, why is my life being put like this to basically take care of her child that just repeats everything basically I said. Or maybe that the child is not really right in the head, or there's something wrong with her or something like that. I really don't know. And I'm kind of wondering if the child is basically in a way that the basically the little girl basically in the movie. I'm really kind of wondering if she's basically is an aspect basically being Catwoman. I'm not really actually so sure, but that kind of hints off to me that really it definitely does. That's just a theory. Basically, to me, I definitely think, because I definitely think that's one of the Easter eggs basically from there, and based off that, because in a way she does the based not the little girl, but the base of the mother ends up meaning Arthur. And Arthur is basically, I would definitely will say he's a antisocial basic kind of person. He's not really basically a social basic kind of person, because he doesn't really socialize with random different people, because he really definitely doesn't, because that's just the nature really actually is. I can tell Arthur is basically is kind of shy, basically in a way. I can tell from by the way his movements and by the way his structures are based on his eyes, and the way that he really actually is and stuff like that. But he's not afraid to basically to speak his mind and basically to say how he feels and basically stuff like that. It's basically kind of way of Arthur, like basically like, does he give a shit, or does not give a shit, or basically of the base of that. That's basically the kind of way that you probably would ask yourself, what's going on basically in Arthur's head. What kind of plurality, or whatever it is that basically that he's definitely thinking. He even questions himself, why is he's living in this world right now, what's the reason for him to basically be in this world? Why was he born like this? And even though he has a journal and then basically stuff, and he basically does go see a counselor, or I would say a therapist, basically that can help him out and basically give him medication for helping with his syndrome that he definitely does have. But however, basically his counselor, the therapist, could not see him anymore because they cut funding from I guess from the state or something like that, or maybe that did done major cuts or something like that. I really don't know or anything really much about that. So I really don't know because basically basically what happened just basically from there on out. Arthur is the kind of guy he likes comedy. He wants to be a stand-up critic, basic kind of guy. Not basically in a critic, basically kind of, but be a stand-up comment comedian, basic kind of guy, or as a comedy basic kind of person, because he likes comedy, because that's what basically he definitely do like. But now keep one thing basically important. This is very important. What he definitely says that his life is my life is nothing but a comedy. In a way, yes, that is definitely is very true in a way that it really actually is. It's funny to me because how he acknowledged the basis of that. Because usually a person really does not really basically acknowledge the basis of that. It's kind of like basically that he's kind of like saying like my life is full of shit. In a way, he may be right, but in a way that he's saying like my life is nothing but a comedy, or basically saying like my life is just nothing but full of shit. That's just basically what he from what he froms to stand on basic from right there. Now there's another key points I definitely think is very important to basically really understand that basically Arthur was saw a woman was basically like kind of being intimidated basically in a kind of way, and Arthur couldn't help it, but he was basically laughed at the situation based on these three young men, or he was say the three Wall Street guys and stuff like that, and that basically they were giving Arthur a hard time. Now, also keep in mind also well too when he was at a job. Excuse me. Keep one thing also in mind also well too when he had a job. Arthur was given a gun. Was given a gun from his best friend. I definitely think his name is I think I'm not sure if his name is Gary or not. I can't remember, but he happens to be very good friends with Arthur and stuff like that. So he basically gave him a gun because the reason why they gave him a gun because so he could defend himself and so he could watch himself from out there from different prowlers basically on the street. Or I will say different people that basically want to mug him or beat him up and stuff like that and basically off that. But if you basically think about this also well too, if you basically were to basically shoot somebody or basically kill somebody, you probably will probably get locked up or probably get locked up in prison because either the circumstances when it comes to capital murder or first degree or second degree or fourth degree or whatever it is and stuff like that and stuff like that. So basically of that. But even though basically that he did in a way that he definitely did defend himself, but there's no justification because basically what he actually did because he did kill the three Wall Street people because they were kind of like basically in a way kind of humiliating him because he didn't like that and he took it very personal. And he really actually is, and I don't blame him to basically took it very personal and he basically really actually is. But sometimes you have to use that last resort, and sometimes you basically that you have to. But I'm not saying people basically that they should they definitely should do that. But even though he basically says basically at the end of the movie where it says what happens if you mess with a mentally ill lord means that a mentally ill person and stuff like that, because you don't know what kind of stable mind a person definitely do has. Because if you mess with somebody of based of that, you're crossing a pretty fine line. I'm not gonna lie, because you don't know what kind of scenario definitely is going to happen. You don't know if the person's going to snap just like just like that, bam, just like that, and stuff like that. Now, keep also one thing basically also in mind also as well too, that Arthur went to basically went to go to the hospital. He went to basically to do a prop to basically I was definitely say to do a play for the kids basically in a hospital. However, something came a little unloose. His gun dropped out of his jacket, or I will say his coat. And then all of a sudden, his boss found out about it, and then he got fired because Arthur was saying it was a prop, and people kind of took that very very personal and stuff like that. If you were to basically to drop a gun, basically like anywhere, basically around the world or anything like that, they take that very very seriously, very extremely personal, and they're probably going to want to know the fingerprints of it, and they're probably going to find you, and that's what they're definitely basically going to do. That's the reason why he basically that he got fired. I'm even shocked and surprised that Arthur did not get arrested because he brought a gun in a hospital one that's basically full of kids because he basically he shouldn't do that. Keep also one thing in mind. There's maybe a reason why that he definitely did that. Maybe he wanted to defend himself, or what he wanted to basically kill the kids. There's no telling what Arthur was definitely you're thinking. But keep also one thing in mind, as I said before, he is a mentally ill, basic kind of person. You just don't know what's going on into a mind based of that way because you don't know if they're gonna snap just like that. Guess what? Shit happens and stuff like that. That's what basically is what's basically probably basically what's gonna happen. You know, and you just don't know. You just don't know. Just use that for example. The three Wall Street people, as I said before, those three young men, they died because they were picking on Arthur, and Arthur had no choice basically to defend himself, and so that's what he definitely did because he got tired of society treating him like shit. That's in his way of his thinking, the way how he views the world, the world. Now I want to get into territory spoilers basically when it comes to Thomas Wayne and basically Arthur. Now I don't know if this is actually basically true or if this is actually 100% or basically actually true, but I'm really kind of wondering like if this really actually is. And I'm kind of wondering if Arthur's basically is related to Thomas Wayne because we really definitely don't know if there's really actually any indication that if he was basically if he really was basically related to Thomas Wayne. We just really don't know because basically Penny probably had a personal relationship basically with Thomas Wayne, or I would definitely would say that she became his personal maid basically in his mansion. That's something I don't know because I don't know if that was basically was addressed basically in the comments. I would like for somebody to please confirm that information to me because that's something I personally I really definitely want to know because I don't know really much about Penny's background because I think her background is kind of mysterious in a way that it really actually is. And I'm also kind of wondering because also kind of wondering basis that when Thomas Wayne says like and said you're not my son, you never was and stuff like that. You were adopted. You were adopted when you were basically when you were a kid. That's basically that was basically was the case. So basically, Arthur didn't want to accept it because he wanted to accept the fact that Arthur was basically was kind of related to Thomas Wayne. But here's the question: is if Arthur was basically related to Thomas Wayne, how was he adopted? That's the question. That's the main question. Was he basically in a foster care? Was he taken from his family or from his mom or from his dad or maybe that there's something that we really definitely don't know. But here's the funny thing also well too. This also leads into the territory of the mystery based also well too. If you go back to the Dark Knight movies, basically the second movie of the Dark Knight, I think it's called Dark Knight Begins. I definitely think where where it basically addresses the trying to think address the things where basically Arthur basically talks about talks about his father, like he couldn't, or I think it's his either his father or his mother. I'm not so sure. I think it's his father, and he was saying like he didn't like the way that he looks and stuff like that because he really basically didn't because he didn't like that because his father saying let's put a smile on that face, and it's a very good definition basically of that. Even though his father says like it says that where he repeats himself, basically he says that why so serious of that and let's put a smile on that face. That's basically what happened in a way, or I would say his cheeks right here from his mouth. If you know what exactly what I'm saying, that's what basically what Arthur basically really did because in a way he was sad just like this. That's basically in a way that he really was. And even though he questions us like, why can I have a happy life? Why do I have a downer life? Based off that. Now I want to get into one of the major spoilers based on this movie before I go ahead and do my final analysis based of this video is the part where Arthur meets Bruce Wayne. There's no indication or anything like that or any way why would Arthur would interact with Bruce Wayne. Now that's hard for me to really the person to really to analyze basically of that. And the only thing I can only think of is that maybe that he wants to interact with Bruce Wayne, maybe that he really definitely does, or maybe that he really definitely that he doesn't, or maybe there's some kind of personal relationship that he wants to have with Bruce Wayne, or maybe that he really definitely does. Now, here's also something to keep something very in question, also well too, because that the Joker and Bruce Wayne, or I would say Arthur is the Joker, the Joker is Arthur, Bruce Wayne is Batman, Bruce Wayne is Batman. You get the whole gist of the situation. I'm kind of wondering if the Joker knows who Batman really actually is. That's one thing I'm really kind of curious about. Maybe the Joker definitely does know, or maybe the Joker that really doesn't really know that familiar base of that territory, or maybe that there is no knowledge of basically being known based on that. Now we don't know if that's been confirmed based in the comics or not. I don't know, but all I definitely do know that the Joker and the Batman has quite a hatred between each other, or I would say a difference between each other, and basically like in a liking of a situation, or basically playing mental mind games the way that the Joker really actually want to personally want to play person going to play. Now, I also want to talk about basically that Arthur did basically that he killed his best friend, and he also killed his mother also as well too, because he saw the document records that basically that he was adopted. However, Penny was not his real mother, and it really was not. And from what it basically feels to me, that Arthur came from, I guess, probably came from a family that um, used to do harm to him. I can't let's say the A word because YouTube rights, YouTube situations of that, and I don't want to get in trouble for it basically for that. I will definitely say he was mentally harmed or something like that. I don't know. That's something I really don't know. We don't know who's Arthur's real family is, who is his mother, who is his father. All I do definitely do know. I'm thinking that probably Penny is probably his foster mom. We don't know. We don't know. We don't know if Arthur is actually related to Thomas Wayne or not. So we don't really definitely don't know. But this raises the questions to me. If he was related to Thomas Wayne's family, basically in a way, basically in a way, that could be Arthur could have a baby brother basically as Bruce Wayne. Basically, I don't know. I don't know. Those are just things I just kind of swing at. So I do think the movie is definitely is good, but there are just some mysteries that I just don't. I think that the movie just really didn't clarify really that much about Mark Arthur's background, really all that much. I think that the movie could have been a lot more longer and showed the world much more in a way how he grown up and how he was raised and how or basically all these different situations and stuff like that. I think the movie could have been extended much more longer. I do think they definitely could basically could have done that, and that's my opinion. I'm sorry to say this, but I don't want to give the space a high rating based kind of movie, but I want to give it a fair. I want to give it a 7 out of 10 because I definitely do think there's a lot of missing parts that we really don't know, and I'm really kind of curious about who was Arthur's family really actually was, his real family, or maybe Penny was his basis real mother. So we just really don't know. So like I said, I'm just going to give it a 7 out of 10. The movie is definitely good, but I would definitely would think that the movie should have been a lot more structural and a lot more longer and learning about the history who Arthur really actually is, and also his family and how Penny became acquainted to Arthur. So we'll just have to wait and see for now. If you guys want to give me any information based about this, please give us some information about this because this would help me basically understand because I'm mostly basically anime kind of nerd like mangas and stuff like that because I don't know really the whole in and outs when it comes to normal comic books and stuff like that when it comes to Marvel or DC. Maybe I'm not that very knowledgeable and stuff like that, and I think some people would probably would basically say maybe you need to get into that and do some research. Who knows? But yeah. Anyways, that's it for this video. Tell me what you guys think. You guys like this movie? You guys don't like this movie? Do you guys agree with some of the things I said about Arthur becoming the Joker and other different aspects based on what he did and others those situations? And so yeah. Anyways, it's not nice. I'll see you guys later. Take care. Hope you guys have one day. Don't forget to subscribe. Please consider subscribing. Please like and give me a thumbs up or give me a thumbs down. And please it comes to. I still love you guys. Take care. Hope you still one day. I'll see you guys later. Take care. Bye.